Hey, my name is Ray. I am 40 years old and I have been on testosterone for just over 2 years. Um, and I'm making two videos 2 months in a row. I realized I've been really crappy about even the once a month thing this past year, so that's going to be my New Year's resolution to try and be better about that in the next year, going forward, really. No big major changes that I can point out, apart from I had a birthday and a T-versary. Um, yeah, I have heard the biggest change period is from 6 months to 5 years. So at 2 years, obviously, I've still got some changes in store. My facial hair, I don't think, has really finished coming in, and I've still got some body fat redistribution. And I would still like to go through some surgeries, which I will certainly talk about those on these videos when it does come to that point. Um, but for now, this is the status quo, and it's a good status quo. I'm in a relatively comfortable place. I'm not quite where I would like to be, but I can see, a slow, steady progression that's aimed in the right direction. The one new thing I have to report on here is that I will be getting voice lessons. The first one is going to be today, and I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm getting voice lessons for free. It's actually a guy that's a client at work, and he's also the uncle of somebody that I have worked with in the past and my wife has worked with. He's kind of a friend. So, so it's going to be interesting. In exchange, I'm supposed to sing in his church's choir. That's the part I'm a little awkward with. I did make it clear to him that I'm not religious and I'm not Christian. I don't know why I decided to record this video while the garbage truck is collecting. That was a genius idea on my part, but I'm going to just go with it. He said that didn't matter, and he is himself a gay man, so I know going into it that it is probably a very LGBTQIA affirming kind of church. So that's reassuring at least, but we'll see how it goes. I don't have any professional aims or anything. I just would like to better be able to work with what I've got, and what I've got has changed so much. I've been singing just because I liked to sing pretty much ever since I can remember. My father has an excellent voice, but no ear. Cannot carry a tune in a bucket, which is a shame. And I do seem to have very much his voice. I hear my father in speech habits when I'm talking all the time now. And I know those speech habits were there before, but because my voice sounds more like his voice now, I'm noticing them a lot more than I used to when I had a more effeminate voice. Also, I am working on trying to be more confident and more certain in my phrasing. It's a subtle linguistic thing, but you notice that women tend to be a little bit more hesitant in their language. It's a culturally trained thing that women are supposed to be like, is this okay? How about if we do this? Whereas men would be like, well, this is what we're going to do. And that's very much a cultural taught, learned gender difference rather than anything intrinsic. But it is something that can make you read a little bit differently, I think. So I'm trying to make my speech a little bit more confident and straightforward. But at the same time, I don't want to be overbearing because I've been on the other side of the equation. I don't want to be one of those guys. There are a lot of masculine behaviors that are toxic masculinity, and I don't want to buy into any of that. I very much would like to model some of my behaviors on my father. My father was never a man's man. He doesn't watch sports. So I grew up without that in the house at all. He was a librarian when I was growing up, and then he was the IT guy for the library system. He's very literate, very well read, very well spoken, very quiet man, and very much a gentleman. I mean, you know, he spoke to me once about how, as a man, you have to be careful working. You can't work alone, one on one with a woman, because that's a dangerous situation for you as a man, and it's a potentially threatening situation for the woman. And I remember him telling me this when I was a teenager, and it blew my mind, because how could anyone ever accuse my father or be afraid of my father doing something, against a woman, because I just can't picture him doing that. But I've remembered it, and I've kept it in mind, and I think that it speaks well of him that he thought of that, and for the woman's feeling of safety as well as for his own protection. So it's something I've kept in mind. But that was a tangent. Back on the singing thing, my mother has a very good voice, and she has a very good ear, and she sang to me when I was a little kid. So then I grew up singing with her, and I guess I have a good ear too. I took piano lessons as a child, and the piano teacher despaired of me because I would not learn to read music, because I would learn how the piece was supposed to sound, and then I would play it by ear and screw the sheet music. I don't need to look at that. Which unfortunately, if I heard something wrong and learned it wrong, then I would continue to play it that way, because I wasn't double checking and correcting myself off the sheet music. So it was a problem. And to this day, I can read, basic notation on sheet music. I do know what I'm looking at. But I see the note on paper. I can't, in my head, think what that note is. That part never clicked. I remember when I was a kid, I would find middle C, and I would count on the sheet music how many notes up or down from middle C that was, and hit that on the piano. Okay, that's what note that is. That's what that sounds like. Now I'm good. And then I could go from there, and without really having to look at the sheet music much. That, okay, this is my starting note. I can see how many notes up or down the next note's going from there, but I wasn't really, it never clicked with me seeing the note on the page and hearing the note in my head. Which for my new voice coach is going to be interesting, I'm sure. I have tried to warn him that I don't really read music in any way that is functional or useful. I understand the notations, get louder, get softer, how to sing. If this is a major key or a minor key, I can tell that. But yeah, as far as reading it and seeing what note it's supposed to be, But as much as I have been singing on here, obviously I get by fine as long as I can hear the song played first. Then I can sing it off of what I hear. So I'm not going to make this one super long today. I'm a little bit anxious about the voice lessons later, obviously. That's in my brain, and I'm being kind of ADD today. Well, I'm ADD every day because I was diagnosed with that as a kid, but I'm definitely going in different directions today because of that anxiety. But yeah, I'm gonna sing a little on this video, not too much because I guess I'm gonna be doing more of that this afternoon. The other thing in my life is I discovered this cartoon, and it is fucking amazing. And if you haven't watched it yet, then you should. And it is called Over the Garden Wall. It's very autumnal themed, and I don't really see it as a kid's cartoon. It's kid safe, but it has some mature themes in it, and actually themes that have to do with mortality, and it's a very good fall, autumn kind of themed show, and it does kind of center around Halloween. So I discovered it like a few weeks before Halloween, which was perfect. And I've watched it all the way through 3 times now. If you haven't heard of it, go look for it. It's on Amazon. It might be on Netflix. You can kind of find it in bits and pieces on YouTube. It's a short series. It's 10 episodes long, and it's a good idea to just watch them back to back. And it's essentially like watching a movie, and it's about 2 hours, so it's movie length. But there is a narrator / singer in it. And I really liked the music that he was singing, and I liked his voice, and it hits perfectly where my vocal range is. And I looked him up, and they said his name is Jack Jones. And I said, that name sounds familiar. That's obviously somebody who's been around as a singer for a long time. It's an older gentleman. I was like, yeah, that's somebody who's been singing, back in the 50s and 60s and, must have been popular because I know that name. And I started looking him up, and when I was a kid and I used to watch cartoons, I think it was on Saturday mornings, there were the good cartoons that would come on, and then you'd get some of the family-friendly programming type stuff, like, I don't know, Green Acres and things like that, and some of that was okay. And then there was one show that would come on, and when it came on, the theme song drove me nuts. And that song and that show, it was like, oh, that's time to turn off the TV. I'm done with TV for today. But I also used to mock and make fun of the song because it seemed so over the top and torch singing to me. And even as a kid, I would like ham it up and try and impersonate this song. And now that as I got older and my voice deepened, I was like, oh, I can do it even better now. And so I used to mock this song, and it would come on every Saturday at a certain time, and he would come out, the Love Boat, exciting and new, come aboard, we're expecting you. And it's time to turn off the TV. So I look up this guy, Jack Jones, and that was him. And I have his voice now. So that was an interesting revelation. Yeah, I probably hammed it up more than he did, but it's a very specific style of singing. And honestly, I used to be very good at doing the female version of that, the torch singing, that kind of swingy and a lot of slides. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that I'm still relatively well suited for that style. But yeah, that was an interesting revelation. But I really like the music from Over the Garden Wall, and he does have a very good voice, and I was right that he's been a popular singer from way back when. And actually, I was just talking to my voice coach earlier, confirming the lesson and where to park and stuff, and I told him I found this cartoon and this guy Jack Jones. He knew exactly who that was instantly. So we'll see what comes of that. But in light of that, I did real quick double check the lyrics for these songs from Over the Garden Wall. Some of the songs are very short because they're for a cartoon, so they're kind of bridges. And by necessity, they're not longer full pieces. But the first one that I really liked is Patient is the Night. And this one happens in the second episode of the series. And really, by the second episode of the series, I was sold. I was like, this is amazing. This shit is the best shit. And I have to watch all of it. And I have to watch it now and not stop until it's done. So, yeah, that was my experience. Yeah. Okay. So it took me a while to figure out the exact pitch that I needed to sing it in. Because it's a good little tune that's kind of flexible. But this song is very short, and it's across the fields of straw and stover, clocked in till the workday's over. Life's a gentle stream, longer than it seems. patient is the night. How I long to see her face now, her starry moonlit gaze now. I know she's never late, still anxiously I wait. Patient is the night. So that one's very nice. And then the other song that I really liked was basically the intro song, intro and outro. And they play it again in long form at the very end of it, which is just beautiful because it kind of shows you resolution to the whole series. So I almost have the lyrics memorized to this one, but I have a cheat sheet just in case. So if you see me glancing to the side of the camera, that's why. I have trouble focusing on the camera anyways because it's to one side of the screen I'm looking at. So this goes really well with piano, and I don't have a piano, which is a shame, but nor do I know how to play one anymore. It's been too many years. Led through the mist by the milk light of moon, all that was lost is revealed. Our long bygone burdens, mere echoes of the spring. But where have we come, and where shall we end? If dreams can't come true, then why not pretend? How the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all. So, both very short songs. Pretty much looked up the lyrics and got them solid in my head today. But obviously I've been listening to them a lot. I've been listening to the soundtrack, as well as having watched the cartoon through 3 times. Yeah, so that's my TED Talk. Thanks for coming. I will try very hard to make a video next month as well. I know I'm hitting in towards the middle, towards the end of the month, and it may be that again. But for my other American brethren, happy Thanksgiving. I know it really sucks to be an American these days, and I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. And we voted, and we're trying to make things better. So, happy Thanksgiving, and until next month, have a good one.